sightings of morning all. Thank you all for joining us. Let's kick this thing off. I hereby call to order this meeting of the Arizona State Boxing and Mixed Martial Arts Commission. Today is Wednesday, February 18th, 2026, and the time is 10 a.m. A is our call to order, our roll call. Would those commissioners in attendance please identify themselves and state as to whether they're here in person or via Google Meets or via telephone?
This is Alex Carpio, and I'm here by Google Meets.
Terrific. Thank you, Commissioner Carpio. I am Scott Fletcher. I am here in person, and hopefully at some point, Commissioner Feinstein will join us as well. Let's press on. B is our information reports. B1 is our budget report. Andrew Hawks is going to chat with us about the budget. Andrew, are you with us?
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Please, the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you. Good morning. This is Andrew Hawks with the Department of Gaming. The unarmed combat subfunds cash balance at the end of January was approximately $34,000, up slightly from December's end of year balance. The year-to-date subfunds total expenditures are approximately $164,000, and the year-to-date total revenues are approximately $66,000. The department will be relying on the racing funds cash to ensure uninterrupted operations in the unarmed combat division throughout the remainder of this fiscal year. And a long-term solution to the subfunds cash flow is being considered in the current legislative session. And I'm happy to answer any questions, if any.
And were you muted? Okay. Thank you so much, Andrew. We appreciate it. Commissioners, Mr. Carpio, thoughts, questions?
No questions from me, Mr. Chairman. I've had a discussion with Mr. Andrew Hawks, so I appreciate the discussion yesterday.
Oh, good. I'm glad you guys got together. I think Commissioner Feinstein's joined us as well. Commissioner, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here by Google Meets, and no questions about the budget report.
Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Hawks, thank you. It's always helpful. And, more things are brewing too, it sounds like. So we'll have to keep communicating as those things unveil themselves, okay?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for your time. B2 is our legislative report. Jessica Rosa is going to help us with that. Ms. Rosa, are you with us?
Yes, Chairman, I am here. Good morning, Commissioners and public. My name is Jessica Rosa. I'm the Assistant Director of Government and Community Affairs for the department and for the commissions. So update for everybody. As many of you know, the department and both of the commissions have completed a sunset audit with the Office of the Auditor General's Office. And we also had a committee of reference hearing. So we have agreed to implement all recommendations that the Auditor General has requested of us. What happens next is a continuation bill is introduced in the legislative session, and that bill was introduced by Senator Bullock. The bill number is SB 1671. It is the continuation bill for all three entities. Last week, the bill was amended in committee to align the continuation dates for all three entities. So we have received a recommendation for a 6-year continuation for all three. And I will continue to provide updates to this body as we continue through the legislative session. Crossover week is next week, so we expect our bill to get a vote in the Senate and then cross over to the House as it continues to move through the process. Happy to answer any questions about anything legislative related, really.
Thank you, Jessica. Yeah, it's going to be an exciting session, it seems like, but then it always is around here, right?
Quite lively.
Yeah, we appreciate your guidance. It's always interesting, and we're really blessed to have you at the helm of this thing. Commissioners, thoughts, questions for Ms. Rosa?
Nothing from me, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for what you do, Ms. Rosa.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Feinstein?
No questions from me. Appreciate the work.
Are those new glasses you're wearing, Commissioner?
They are new for the computer, yes, so that I can see the
I
screen.
get it. Yeah. You
So
look-
Sean, it goes with the gray hair.
Yeah. Tell me about it. Okay.
All right.
At least you have hair, you know?
Let's press on to B3. Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, the BKFC update. Mr. Estrada, where should we go with this?
Yes, sir. I thank you again for being here. Thank you, Bare Knuckle, for being here. I would just like Bare Knuckle to give us a quick update on what's going on, what their intent is. If there's any questions from the public, I just want to make sure that we inform the public before we move forward with anything. With that, I would recommend that we turn it over to Bare Knuckle.
Yeah, let me introduce a few people. Sean Wheelock is here with us and has been for a couple days. He went to Arizona State University, so let's not hold that against him. He's been on his best behavior. There's a lot of Tucson on this commission for some reason. But we had some nice meetings yesterday that I think helped shed a lot of light on your organization and the incredible steps you've made over the years. We're also joined by David Feldman, who's been out to see us in the past, and Dr. Don Mutzi, and we're blessed to have you all here. Please take it away, Sean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much. Commissioners in attendance, thank you. Mr. Estrada, everyone from the state of Arizona, thank you very much for having me again. And because don't hold it against me, sir, as a U of A graduate, to go to ASU, as did my late father, who got his doctorate at Arizona State. Arizona is very much a special state to me. So I'll provide a brief overview of where we are as an organization, the progress we've made, and then I'll turn it over to our founder and our CEO, David Feldman, and our Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Don Mutzi. Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship began June 2nd, 2018. That was in Cheyenne, Wyoming. We were fully regulated by the Wyoming Commission. Since then, we have held a total of 145 events. That's approximately 1,700 individual fights. Our 145th event took place on Saturday, February 7th. That was in Philadelphia, the home city of our founder, David Feldman. Our attendance tickets sold 18,217. That was the largest fight crowd of any kind in the city of Philadelphia since September 1952. Rocky Marciano versus Jersey Joe Walcott won the boxing's heavyweight world championship. April 11th, sir, Hawaii will become our newest state for a Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. That will bring us to 29 states in which Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship is fully legal, fully sanctioned. The list of our states includes California, Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, Texas, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Florida. Additionally, we hold events, as we will next week, at Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. That's the tribal commission headed by Mr. Mike Mazzulli, who's the immediate past president of the Association of Boxing Commissions and Combative Sports. Of the current 6 members of the ABC's executive committee, all of those elected members are from athletic commissions that do regulate and host Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship events. Internationally, we have held 11 events outside of the U.S. That includes Canada, the United Kingdom, Italy, Japan, the United Arab Emirates, where Dubai is located. Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, when we began in 2018, we had 3 events in 2 states. Last year, we held 33 events across 8 countries. We're targeting 40 events this year. In the world of combat sports, only 2 promotions worldwide held more events than us last year. That would be one championship based in Asia, of course, and then the UFC. So the progress that we have made, the tickets that we have sold, our safety record, we're also joined by one championship in the UFC, is the only fight promotion in the world to employ a full-time chief medical officer. That's Dr. Don Mutzi. Arizona is a very important state to us. 2 phenomenal markets in Phoenix and in Tucson. A number of our rostered fighters are based in Arizona, including Joe Riggs, Dr. Sarah Schell, who is our only actual physician who does fight for Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, and her practice is in Phoenix. So with that, I will give it to David Feldman. Again, none of us from BKFC would be here if it weren't for David Feldman and his dream to will this into reality and everything he's done. He's our founder, our president, our CEO. David?
Thank you so much, Sean, and thank you to the commission. I really appreciate this opportunity to discuss Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. As Sean had mentioned, Arizona is an important state to us. I actually did the first semi-sanctioned bare knuckle fight ever that I ever did back in 2011 at the Fort McDowell Casino in Arizona. So I promoted approximately 72 events in the Fort McDowell Casino and about 8 events in the state of Arizona in the early teens of the 2000s. So that's why I think Arizona is very important to me. I know it's a great market for combat sports, and it's a great market. It would be a great market for bare knuckle fighting championship. Over the years, we have built quite a following, a cult following into a mainstream following now for bare knuckle fighting championship. Our number one job in the past was breaking perception, right? The perception of bare knuckle fighting. What was it? Was it a bar fight? Was it a street fight? Or was it a very well put together, well produced bare knuckle fight that includes very well schooled professional boxers, Muay Thai fighters, and MMA fighters from around the world, very well tenured fighters, and that's what we're doing with bare knuckle fighting championship now. We are growing fighters into we're starting fighters with bare knuckle fighting championship now and growing them into contenders and now champions with bare knuckle fighting championship. So the involvement of bare knuckle fighting itself has been nothing short of amazing. June 2nd, 2018, as Sean mentioned, we promoted our first event, legal, sanctioned, and fully regulated by the state of Wyoming. At that time, we were the first legally sanctioned and regulated bare knuckle fight ever in the history of the world. Today, there's over 100 bare knuckle promotions around the world. So it's not just bare knuckle fighting championship that is growing leaps and bounds. It's the whole sport of bare knuckle fighting. I think that we had absolutely set the precedent, and the way that we needed to do our medicals, our officiating, and the type of fighters that we needed to get to grow this sport. And we've been followed by so many other promotions, which is very, very flattering, and also a big tool to us as a feeder league into bare knuckle fighting championship. I think that we can do a very, very good crowds here in the state of Arizona. I think that everybody on this commission will be very pleased by the way that we operate our events, the medical attention that we put on the fighters, and just how we treat the fighters, the fans, and the commission and the staff in general. Would love the opportunity to do an event here. I think a timing for us would probably be approximately 6 months out from the date that we would, 5 to 6 months out from the date that we would receive approval. And I think it could be a very good home for us where we could do multiple events per year in the state of Arizona. That's kind of where we are right now. We are selling, doing record breaking. So far, we've done in 5 different states. We have done record breaking crowds for attendance in combat sports. As Sean mentioned, we just broke our own record in Philadelphia. I think the uniqueness of that is that I need to mention that beat 2 UFC events and a Mike Tyson boxing match in the city of Philadelphia, and we drew more than all 3 of those events. So, you know, a very big feather in our hat to do that. We've also done it at venues in Florida and a couple other venues around the world where we drew the highest attendance in those very well established venues respectively. So I would love the opportunity to answer any questions that you may have and to host an event here in the state of Arizona, which I really, really like.
Thank you, Mr. Feldman. Yeah, I think you could do great things here, assuming you are approved and the like. This is a great fight town.
Yep.
This is a town that Michael Carbajal started and still exists. You know, that what he started many decades ago still exists, and we don't have a lot of trouble filling 16,000 seat rooms for good events, you know.
Right.
Yesterday was great with Sean. We really enjoyed the time. He was very helpful. This commission prides itself on fighter safety. That's critically important to us. I think Dr. Mutzi's presentation was very helpful in getting us sorted out as far as concussions and length of fights and things of that nature. So it's been a good 24 hours so far. I'm going to throw it to the commissioners. Commissioner Carpio, thoughts from Mr. Feldman?
I'm very excited for you guys to come here. I've been hoping you guys would come here, and I think it's going to do very well here. Thank you to Mr. Wheelock for explaining everything to us. And I'm actually really, I was asking about the Hartford insurance, and then now Aflac you're adding, and Mr. Estrada was telling us that that's above and beyond what we require under our statute. So I appreciate that, and having the Dr. Mutzi on as a position, that's a great addition.
Thank you so much, Mr. Carpio. Appreciate that.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. Mr. Feinstein, thoughts?
Well, I just want to say that I appreciate the thoroughness of the BKFC team in bringing this information to us. I think, as a physician, the only physician on the commission, obviously my focus always leans towards safety. I think it's clear that the BKFC is doing, I think, more than a lot of organizations to analyze prospectively the safety of fighters. But at the same time, this is a relatively new sport. And it's, as we all know, with combat sports, the implications of fighting are not the day of. It could be 20 years later, which we obviously have seen those implications with boxing and MMA. And it could be that in the long term that this is, less of a risk to fighters, but there's just no way to know that right now. And that's not the fault of obviously anybody with the BKFC as a new sport. I do have some, concerns about the number of cuts and the amount of just sort of the spectacle of bleeding with, a percentage of lacerations that, is upwards of 35%, and in some events that I've looked at up to 50%. And I think that's, largely not an issue of fighter safety, because those can be fixed, and, those injuries to eyelids and more sensitive places are pretty low. But certainly they are disfiguring, and lacerations to the face when they're sewn up leave scars, and that's, I guess, a risk that the fighters understand when they sign up. But it is something to think about, and these are bloodier fights than we are used to seeing in boxing or MMA, and I think that's something that, whether or not that matters is subjective. But again, I want to say that I'm very impressed with the work that's been done to ensure fighter safety and to look at the data. And I think the real question is, with any combat sport, what do these athletes look like in 5 years, 10 years, and beyond?
No, well said. Thank you, Commissioner. I really appreciate you all being here, and I think yesterday's presentations were very good. I like the idea of 5 2-minute rounds. I like mitigating concussions as best we can, but you make a great point about lacerations too, Doctor. One thing I do want to get out at some point today is it was brought to me yesterday that if there is an approval, it's possible to make it conditional on 1 or 2 events or a time frame. It doesn't have to be a permanent approval. You could approve 1 event if you came to that. I just want to let you know that, or 1 year's time or something like that. It can be done conditionally too. So there's that. Put that in your pie and put that in your pipe and smoke it, Doctor. Mr. Feldman, thank you. We appreciate your time. Dr. Mutzi, would you like to take the floor?
Yeah, I just wanted to say a couple of things, and if you want to go through that presentation, I can do that for you. I'll just need a little help with the Google Meet screen share. I want to thank Dr. Feinstein for recognizing the effort that had to go into collecting this data and prospectively keeping the athletes as healthy as possible. I can tell he's been involved in clinical research because he recognized the planning and the effort that had to go behind that. I think I can sum things up pretty well, and depending on the depth you want to get into, is that, Dr. Feinstein's point about the long-term effects is very well taken. We used to have an instance of about 33% development of chronic traumatic encephalopathy in boxers. That's down to about 18% right now, and that's primarily because exposure. If you go back into the 50s and early 60s, the average professional boxer would have about 650 bouts in their career. And that was an average. You had some as high as 1,800, some as low as 300. Right now, that number is down to 60, and that's been directly responsible for the decrease in long-term brain injuries in boxers. Now, the reason I brought that up because it is about exposure that Dr. Feinstein alluded to. Bare knuckle fighting has a maximum of 5 2-minute rounds. Our average is about 2.8 rounds. Actually, in women, it's a little higher, 4.6. It's 4.6 rounds. And in men, it's just slightly lower, about 2.7 rounds. I will mention in advance, we have about 240 women or so in the database. We've only had one concussion in women, which kind of makes sense to me because of the women generally have less power in their punches. Our concussion rate in the male fighters is about 5.1%. In terms of long-term injury, Dr. Feinstein, in our lifetime, you and I are never going to know that answer because it just takes too long. And besides, our athletes are mixed right now. We have boxers, we have mixed martial art athletes coming in. Eventually, we probably will have pure bare knuckle fighters, but I'm afraid that we'll be in a retirement home at best if that answer ever comes to fruition. I can leave it at that and go on to the presentation. Would I hit these 3 circles you told me? I think it was Norma. And then what's the next button? Is it full screen or?
So hi, Doc. So on your screen, you should see like a little blue button with a smiley face. So it would be the button on your left. And it looks like
To
a
the left
little,
of that. Mhm.
yes, it looks like a little laptop. And then it should ask you what screen you want to share.
Oh boy, so it's on my screen, a little blue button.
So on the left of the little blue button with the smiley face.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah.
And then it should ask you what screen you would like to share.
This will let you take over. Okay, got it. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, I'm having just a little bit of trouble here. Open system settings, which must be this. Guys, I really apologize for this. This is not my.
No worries, doctor.
Sean, you have that presentation. Is it possible you could just bring that up on?
Okay. Yeah, doctor, we did go through that presentation yesterday with Sean. Maybe can you verbalize it? You want to walk us through it verbally?
Yeah, I can do that. That'll be easy enough. I apologize for this. I'm just not familiar with this.
No worries.
All right, so I'm going to slide over to, and if you have any questions, if you're having trouble going along, just let me know and I can ease up. Okay, so we started this back in 2018, it would have been, and we have about 200. Now we have a little less fights than what Sean mentioned because there's been a couple that I haven't been able to attend, and this data has been collected prospectively. In other words, I've been live at the events collecting the data. Now, Dr. Feinstein did bring this point up yesterday that we're comparing prospective data to retrospective data. That's how when we get to the comparison between mixed martial arts and boxing. Unfortunately, that's just what we're stuck with because no one else has done exactly what we've done, collected live data. Most of it comes from commission reports, looking at videos and so forth. Now, what I will comment on, when retrospective data is conducted, it's generally not as accurate, and it tends to, in my experience with combative sports and things that I've read, it tends to underestimate injuries. So if anything, I'm going to say ours is more accurate, and it's probably, I'm not going to say overestimating, it's just accurate. It's just the prospective data tends to underestimate. So if we go to outcomes, now everything is done by athlete exposure. So in other words, we do one fight, that's 2 athlete exposures. So I'm going to talk briefly about what this is. Our 2,446 fighters we have in the database. We have a KO fight. This is how the fights will finish. KO rate of 15.9%, TKO rate of 22.5%. Decision is 12.5%. Draws only about 21%, and really DQs and no contests are inconsequential. And like I had mentioned before, the average the fight lasts 2.8 rounds. Now, I'm going to mention knockout because we'll probably get back to that again. You'll look at a knockout and say, I can have a 16%, approximately 15.9% knockout rate and a concussion rate of only 5.1%. Remember, a knockout, all that means is a fighter did not get up to the count of 10. The difference is bare knuckle fighting is that athletes will go down to the mat, often because it just hurts. They get hit with the knuckle in the abdomen and the ribs, whatever, the neck, the head, and it hurts. They've had multiple blows. They go down, they take a knee, and they just don't get up by the count of 10. So you really cannot equate knockouts with concussion. Concussion, we've done it based on a clinical diagnosis and then an objective test, what we'll get to in just a minute. So the next slide looks at knockout rates, or compared in TKO and decision versus boxing and mixed martial arts. Now, our knockout rate in bare knuckle fighting, I said, is about 16%. That's versus 9% and 6%, 6.4% in mixed martial arts. Our TKO rate is 20% in bare knuckle fighting, 17% in boxing, and 39.8% mixed martial arts. That makes a lot of sense to me because we tend to have more fights stopped by lacerations than the other sports. And also mixed martial arts, if a fight ends in submission by an arm bar or a toe hook or a chokehold, that counts as a TKO. So that's in that bag for mixed martial arts. And our decision rate we're a little lower, about, like I said, about 13%, but boxing and mixed martial arts is about 17, 18%. It's slightly lower in bare knuckle, but not by much. In terms of injuries, again, out of the 2,400 plus fighters, we have a laceration rate of about 35%. And, I did record stitches per fighter. I wanted to figure out a way to try to quantitate the lacerations, and measuring length and depth was just logistically not possible. So I did it based on the number of stitches that an average physician would put in. I should mention I'm a neuroanesthesiologist as well as boarded in oral maxillofacial surgery. I tend to put in tighter stitches. Plastic surgeons tend to do that. I did it based on what a regular physician would put in, and our average is about 8. And I think the highest we've had a couple of, we only had about a handful of, when I say a handful, I mean about 7 guys that have had more than 20 stitches. So those big, nasty things aren't as much as you think. Our hand fracture rate is 3.7%. If we look at orbital fractures, it's, in other words, fractures of the midface, it's about 1.6%, and our mandible fractures is 0.5%. Both of those are lower than what you see in mixed martial arts. And we'll get into a comparative slide later. In terms of concussion, like I mentioned before, we've had 124 by clinical diagnosis. That's 5.1% of our fighters. We'll do some comparative data in a little bit. If we look at frequent injuries, okay, lacerations account for about 90% of our total injuries. That's not to say that 90% of the fighters get cut, but if we have 10 injuries in any given fight, 9 of them are going to be cuts. Nasal fractures account for about 4.4% of our injuries. So we're looking at facial lacerations and nasal fractures representing 95% of our injuries. I appreciate Dr. Feinstein's comment on lacerations, but I will say that lacerations and nasal fractures are fairly superficial injuries. We get into our comparative data right now. So clearly, we have a higher rate of facial lacerations in bare knuckle versus mixed martial arts and boxing. An easy way to remember this is, I'll call it the rule of thirds, that we're about a third. I'm going to leave it alone. I don't want to talk about that later. So we have about a 36% fighters will have a laceration. Boxing is about 7%. Mixed martial arts about 13.4%. Since you can't see this slide, I will skip over it. It just shows the location of our lacerations, and most, as you'd imagine, are in the mid-face. In other words, above the lips and up towards the forehead. Okay, orbital fracture rates. Bare knuckle fighting is 1.6%. Mixed martial arts is 4.7%. So we are lower than mixed martial arts in terms of fractures of the mid-face. If we look at facial fractures in general, it's 3% for us and 3.6% for mixed martial arts. That's closer. And the reason being is because we included nasal fractures as part of the fracture rate. Now, I don't have this information real well for boxing because virtually boxers, 100% of boxers have a fractured nose. That's how, and it's really difficult to get that retrospectively out of the literature. I got some of this out of the Zornson article for mixed martial arts, but our nasal fracture rate, like our facial fracture rate, is about 3% if you include the nose. And okay, hand fracture rates, which is, I found this very interesting. There's really not a statistically significant difference. We have a hand fracture rate in, I should say, in bare knuckle fighting of 3.6%, whereas in mixed martial arts, it's 3.8%. Boxing is arguably statistically higher, it's 4.7%. So I think the reason for this is the same reason as we get into the head trauma. Fighters can't throw as hard. They can't throw those big overhand rights to the top, let's say to the cranium, because they know they're going to hurt their hands. So they pull their punches a bit in bare knuckle as opposed to let's say boxing or gloved combat sports. Concussions. Okay, this is where I was talking about remembering the rule of thirds. That's approximately right. We're in boxing, or excuse me, in bare knuckle fighting, it's about 5.1% concussion rate. And in boxing, it's 12%. In mixed martial arts, 14.7%. Now, we also do, and I discussed this with Dr. Feinstein yesterday. We started this, I think it was about in the beginning of 23, where we added, we have a concussion specialist, a nurse who's had experience in neurointensive care that does King-Devic testing. Now, King-Devic testing is basically a concussion test that's well accepted. It requires a test being done on the fighter's pre-bout, so we have a baseline, and we do it immediately post-bout. And by immediately post-bout, I mean within 30 minutes, because it just depends on the logistics, what's going on in the medical room. And that's surprisingly close to, well, not surprised, it's close. Our KD positive rate, or our King-Devic positive rate, is about 4.7%. Our clinical diagnosis is 5.1%. That's close to what you'd expect because this KD testing has about an 86% sensitivity rate. So it's pretty close to what we're finding clinically. Okay, I'm going to go on. I want to talk a little bit about eye injuries because this is something we've picked up. We require an eye exam on every fighter before every fight. I started to notice some eye injuries that were relatively minor, benign injuries, but they could be, it's known as traumatic miosis or mydriasis. In other words, you see a discrepancy in the pupil size after the fight. That's occurring about 2.2% of the time. I will say that we have had no fighters that have had any indications of long-term eye trauma or vision threatening injuries or long-term diseases such as glaucoma, which could develop from these strikes. And I'm going to move on just to a summary right now because I've thrown a lot of numbers at you. In terms of bare knuckle fighting, so the summary is basically we have an increased facial laceration rate that we talked about. Hand fracture rate is pretty much the same as you see in mixed martial arts, slightly less than you see in boxing. We have a lower concussion rate, both by clinical diagnosis and the King-Devic testing. And I think that sums it up pretty well. I will mention also that I want to just talk about, we've gone into, we're doing wellness checks on athletes. And by that, I mean, we started to order, we just started it this year where we're ordering what's called a complete blood count metabolic profile on athletes and lipid levels. In other words, when we all go to see our doctor, he's checking your kidney function, your liver function, your blood chemistry, as well as your cholesterol. We're doing it on our athletes right now because I have identified a handful of athletes, which is why we prompted this, that have lab values that may not get them into trouble today, but it may 10 years down the road. So we're asking them to go see their physician, and before they fight for us again, they have to come back that they've been seen and the appropriate treatment has been discussed with them. And I think that's enough for now. unless you have any questions.
Thank you, Doctor. Commissioner Carpio, thoughts for the doctor?
No, thank you for the explanation, Doctor. I appreciate that. I mean, I was just, gloves allow fighters to, I think, punch harder and longer without breaking their hands. And I feel like, like you explained, the bare knuckle, they probably don't swing as much or harder because of the risk.
Yeah, if I could comment on that, sir, a couple, I could talk to you about how many foot-pounds there are in a gloved hand or in a punch, and versus like mixed martial arts, a kick. But the analogy I like the best is everybody watched the Super Bowl and we saw a guy kick a 60-yard field goal. No one can punch a ball that far. The extensors of the leg are incredibly strong muscles and can deliver a lot more impact. And, simply put, if I put a glove on you and I asked you to hit the wall, and I took the glove off and asked you to hit the wall again, that's a whole different punch.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing is that you touched on is exposure. We don't go 12 3-minute rounds. We don't go 5-minute rounds. We're averaging less than 3 rounds, but at most you can have 10 minutes of exposure.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. Doctor, one question I had, you were talking about KO knockout percentages. Ballpark, what percentage of those are body shots? People taking knees, do you think?
Oh, I'd be guessing, but I'll defer to Sean and David. I would say probably about 2/3 of them.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I would liken this to, and I hate to use the term street fight, but 2 kids are fighting on the street, and one guy just gets beat up, and he says, "Okay, I'm done. I quit." You see that often enough in bare knuckle. They just take the knee. That last punch hurt. I'm just not getting up again.
Yeah, gotcha. Thank you, Doctor.
Mr. Chairman, it's our version of
Tapping out,
Getting
right?
out of
Right.
Yeah, and frankly, when I published the initial paper, I had a term for it that the journal didn't like, and I changed it to a submission knockout. So I think that's a good way to look at that. It's like a submission knockout.
No, that's good. Well, let's get the doctors together. Dr. Feinstein, thoughts for Dr. Mutzi?
No further questions.
And I want to thank Dr. Feinstein again. He was very complimentary of the work. He recognized the work that went into this, and I really appreciate that, Doctor.
Well, we are blessed to have both of you in the room. Thank you both for your time. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you for your thoughts. Sean, where to from here?
I think David Feldman. David, did you want to address anything just about how the standard we hold our fighters and our level of professionalism in our broadcasts?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, Sean. We hold our fighters to very, very high standards. I know that some of the members of this commission had saw online that there was a fight between 2 of our fighters in the audience at our last big event that we did in Philadelphia, and question if they were reprimanded or not. The one fighter was fined $25,000 and the other fighter was fined $50,000. We hold strict standards to that. We don't allow that type of stuff. We have drinking policies with our fighters. They cannot drink at the events, and one of the fighters did drink, so that's why his fine was double. We try to hold as high standards as we possibly can. Obviously, some things get away from us at times, but we will certainly reprimand them. We just make sure that our fighters are out there saying hello to the fans, taking pictures with the fans, making everybody feel really good. And when something like that happens, it's an unfortunate incident, but it didn't go unseen or it didn't go unreprimanded.
And Mr. Chairman, to be
Yes.
clear, these were fighters on our roster, but not on the card.
Right.
We, at big events, a lot of our fighters attend, as the same with the UFC.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, something happened, but our producer, Jonathan Evans, who was previously at HBO, would never put anything like that on. Any video that emerged came from social media. We would never do anything to lean into gratuitous on our broadcast.
Thank you, Sean.
Thanks,
Thank
sir.
you, Mr. Feldman. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Commissioners, are there other thoughts, questions you have while we've got these guys here? They're hard to get time with, so we're lucky to have them. Commissioner Carpio, anything else you'd like to talk about?
Nothing for me, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
And Dr. Feinstein?
No, sir.
Okay. I too am satisfied. It's been a great 24 hours. Thank you,
Thank you
Sean.
very
We
much,
appreciate you
Dr.
being here. Mr. Feldman, Dr. Mutzi, thank you.
Thank you.
There's the possibility of a vote taking place in the coming weeks. We'll be in touch and let you know where that stands and what we're doing.
That was my next question, Chairman. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys' time.
Mr. Estrada, do you know when, where, and how we go from here?
So I am planning on having a special. I got 2 other promotions that are seeking approval for a promoters packet. If Mr. Wheelock and team get their paperwork in, they will also be included in that meeting.
Okay.
Possibly within a week or 2, if that's the time that you
Okay.
require.
So commissioners, keep your ears open for a special meeting. It'd be important to have a full complement of commissioners at that one if we can. So these 2 are the hard ones to get. I can juggle pretty well, right? But keep your ears open. You'll hear more. Gentlemen, thank you so much. It's been a great time. And Sean's done a nice job. And he's bit his tongue. He could have badmouthed the University of Arizona, and he didn't do it.
Nope.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Thank
Ladies.
you, gentlemen.
Let's press on to B4, our event reports. The following events were conditionally approved by the executive director from January 17th, 2026 to February 13th, 2026. The first is a request from United Fight League for approval of an MMA event to be held at Mountain View High School in Mesa, Arizona on Saturday, April 4th, 2026. The second is a request from North Star Sports Advocates for approval of a mixed martial arts and boxing event to be held at the Arizona Center in Phoenix, Arizona on Saturday, April 18th, 2026. And the third is a request from Rough Nation LLC for approval of a private mixed martial arts event to be held at the Silverleaf Club in Scottsdale, Arizona on Saturday, April 18th, 2026. 3 more interesting events, Mr. Estrada, in 3 venues I don't think we've been in before.
Sir, Mr. Chairman, we've been blessed that promoters are back up and having events. We'll try our best to accommodate and do what we do best. Our commission is ready. Believe we have a strong team that will be able to accommodate promoters' needs.
Awesome. Thank you. Commissioners, any thoughts, questions about these events?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, my question is more a logistical question. Could these events be sent out through email as calendar invites so that we could automatically add them to our Outlook calendars or whatever, Apple calendars, whatever people use?
Yes, sir, Commissioner Feinstein. We can definitely incorporate that in. Our new process has been to include them in our website calendar. But for the commission, I will make sure that those invites go out as a Google invite so that you are aware of as they occur. If you would like weigh-ins information to participate, we can definitely arrange those things as well.
Yeah, I just think that logistically it might be helpful for even, all of our support staff and everybody else to just have them on the calendars.
Yeah, no, well said, Doctor. It is nice to know as far out as we can. I know that the calendar does change, but knowing what's coming allows us to kind of get our ducks in a row and make sure we're there too. And going to weigh-ins, always exciting. Always enjoy those. Commissioner Carpio, you should go to a weigh-in sometime. It's a very interesting affair.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah, good. Well, thanks, Mr. Estrada. We'll a full calendar, and this calendar's filling up quickly too. We have a couple double days. There's talk of a triple event day. We're popular. We're back in style again, so it's all good.
Mr. Estrada, do you think we can get calendar invites for the events that are set to go for sure? I know there's a tentative calendar that's not really matching up anymore, but it would be nice if we could get some calendar event invites.
Yes, sir. I'll see if so I normally wait for these events to kind of, when we put them through the commission, or I know they're solidified, I just don't want to send something that you may make plans for, and then later on, I send you an email that the event is canceled or for whatever reason, the event is not able to go through. But I would definitely, for example, these events that we currently have, we will make sure that they're on your calendars. Just keep in mind that I have to keep your guys' calendars a little separate because I don't want to run into a quorum issue. But I will do my best to try and have these events in your calendars. and weigh-ins again. So look out for those.
Yeah, thank you, Juan. It's a handful. The calendar does change. You're not an official commissioner until you go to the celebrity theater and find it padlocked with no one there. So it's yet to come. Okay, shall we press on to C, call to the public? Are there members of the public who would like to speak to us? How do we know one? Do we see it on the screen? Does someone raise a hand?
Normally they will raise their hands, or if they're here in public, they can.
Yeah.
So I approve them, and they just know.
Okay. Nobody? I do this on the telephone, so this is all new to me. So I'm techno challenged. What about you two? Anything you'd like to share?
Oh, I'm good.
Okay.
Well, we have
Yeah,
upcoming
please.
event, we
Yeah,
have
Bob.
upcoming Muay Thai event coming up this Saturday at the Glendale Civic Center. It's Pro-Am Muay Thai fight. We have WBC title defenses on there, along with amateur WBC title fight. So should be a great event. And it's a dual event between USMPA and the state of Arizona, which we've been doing a lot of.
Yeah, that's
Looking forward to this event coming up next week.
a great event. We appreciate you guys doing what you do. Shall we head to D, call to the commission? Commission members or the executive director may introduce a summary of current events, ask questions, and or make comments. Commissioners, Commissioner Carpio, anything you'd like to talk about?
No, I just want to say I appreciate everyone meeting with me yesterday about the structure and the finances. So I appreciate everyone, and I'm excited to move forward and for this year. I think we have some great things going, and appreciate everyone's work. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner. And thanks for doing that. It's, I try and do it whenever I think of it. Just get down and get 10 minutes with somebody and 10 minutes with someone else and just kind of chew the fat a little bit. You don't really have to have an agenda to come down here and talk with people. I think it's good that we do that when we can. Do it again, will you?
I will.
Okay, good. Good. Commissioner Feinstein, thoughts?
No, I just want to say that I was at the Rough event last weekend, and as always, the commission did an incredible job of putting it on. Everything was well run, and some great fights. So just wanted to point that out. So thank you.
Thank you. And thank you all. Thank you, Norma and Rania and Juan, everybody. It's we're blessed to have such a great group. I have nothing left to say. How about you, Mr. Director?
Well, I want to start by saying thank you to BKFC for presenting. It's a pleasure having you here. Pleasure to having your team and listening to your presentation. Looking forward to hopefully here in the very near future having events and developing a good team here with Arizona.
Thank you.
For the event upcoming, I'm excited to go and do another event with Mr. Carmel here. Runs a good show, and I mean, I'm still learning from him as far as the Muay Thai side. So
Yeah.
I'm sure we will have a good event. And again, we have very, very good team. And I will second Mr. Kleinstein's comments about Rough. It was a really good event and good to be back in the game.
Awesome. Awesome. I see that Ms. Rosa has her hand raised. What do I do? Can you hear us?
Yes, Chairman. I just have one quick comment, if I may, that I failed to say in my earlier report, is that the department is currently undergoing our strategic planning process. So we will be sending out stakeholder surveys here shortly that the Boxing and MMA Commission and stakeholders will be receiving. So we're looking forward to your feedback.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for your efforts too. Let's continue to E, the announcement that the next regularly scheduled commission meeting will be held virtually via Google Meets at 10 a.m. on Wednesday, March 18th, 2026, and is subject to change based on a quorum, which leads us to F, the possibility of an adjournment. Is there a motion for such?
Mr. Chairman, I move to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you, Commissioner. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you all for your time. Good things are afoot.
Thank you.
Thank you all. That was fun.
We're in a great meeting.
Oh,